Before we begin with a very special edition of the No DQ review, I have a special fireworks display for everybody. It's about a minute. We're here to celebrate 4th of July. We're going to have the firework display, and then when we come back, we'll have the intro, and we'll get going with No DQ review, episode number 102. Stand by. All right, now it's official. Welcome to episode number 102 of the No DQ review. This is the Bash Fest. It is a 4th of July special edition. Let me throw it over to our moderator, Virtue. How's it going, man? Happy 4th.
Happy 4th of July, and welcome No DQ Galaxy to the No DQ review number 102. And I am Virtue, being joined by the boss man, Aaron Riff, by Stefan Osborne, and San Goshoku?
Yeah, you got it right.
All right, I'm going to start with you. Happy 4th of July. What is up, my man?
Happy 4th of July to you all, everyone out there watching. Hope you're staying safe. This is really cool because actually I think this is like a 2-year anniversary since I met all three of you guys in person. Yeah, when we went to Money in the Bank a couple of years ago. So awesome for the occasion.
All right, well, it's good to have you back. Stefan Osborne, what's up, man?
Not much. 4th of July, left the barbecue, got a barbecue to go back to so I can eat once we're done here. But I'm excited because I watched Smackdown from last night to get caught up for this. And that first hour of that show, man, was fucking awesome. And I hope we get into some topics where we can touch on that. But just like Morrison versus, well, I know we're going to talk about Matt Riddle, so I'll save that. But yeah. I'm glad that it got me watching that because I might have missed that show, but it was a really good show. Aaron, how's it going, man?
I'm doing pretty good, all things considered. It's a bit of a unique time. Obviously, there has never been a 4th of July like this in our lifetimes. It's something different, but you know what? We're taking a negative, turning it into a positive. This will be a memorable 4th of July evening with us doing this live stream. Thank you to everybody for tuning in and joining us. We're going to have a lot of fun tonight, despite the current circumstances in the world. Now, Caleb Jacobs left a $2.05 super chat. He says, hey, Virtue, what's your favorite Batman movie? I like the first one. I know he's asking you, but I like that 1989 one. I think that's my personal one. What about you, Virtue?
That's a great choice. Tim Burton was magic. But believe it or not, that's my second favorite Batman. My first one was Batman Returns 1992 because it was just so dark. I loved it. I know it got a little bit, kind of bashed a little bit because it was too dark. That's why I loved it. So Batman Returns, Christopher Walken, Danny DeVito, Michelle Pfeiffer, and of course Michael Keaton. Great movie.
Am I the only one that likes Batman Forever?
I like that one too.
Am I the only one that likes Batman and Robin?
I don't like Batman and Robin, but
if I want to laugh at Schwarzenegger one-liners,
I'm the only person in the world. I think Val Kilmer made the best Batman, and I will argue that.
I enjoyed that one because Burton still had a little bit to do with that, although it was, I think, a Joel Schumacher film.
I think Michael Keaton made a great Bruce Wayne, but not a great Batman. Val Kilmer made a good both. Like, he was a credible Batman to me.
But this is the No DQ review. That was a great question, by the way. Aaron, any other super chats before we get into our first topic?
No, I think we're all set to go. So as Arnold might say, Mr. Freeze, let's kick some ice.
All right, so the first topic, we had the real American Hulk Hogan, Mr. America, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Kurt Angle, Sergeant Slaughter, except that one run that he had, the Patriot, Glenn Wilkes, I think. I'm not sure what his name was. Who was the best patriotic wrestler? And I'm sure there's other ones too. And I also want to know everybody's favorite patriotic moment in wrestling history. I could go first, but I won't. So I will pick San Goshoku. What is your favorite, or name a wrestler, a patriotic wrestler I might have missed, but who's your favorite one and your favorite moment?
Well, when it comes to patriotic wrestlers, I think it's going to be easy for a lot of people. Kurt Angle, the most iconic. I mean, just so many entertaining moments. And then when he won, man, he made everything felt like a big celebration. Even me, as a Stone Cold Steve Austin fan, and even in 01, I was still hardcore Steve Austin. That was a great moment to see him celebrating with his family after 9/11. I think that's why they took the title off of Austin to give everybody a feel-good moment. And that's where I'll segue into, as far as if I had to think of like the biggest patriotic moment in wrestling, had to be the show that they did 2 days after 9/11. That was just a great show, definitely to help take everybody's mind off of things and stuff. So definitely, it's just amazing because they were right in the heel of WCW and ECW versus WWE, and everyone in the storyline came together and made it all about, making everybody in the country feel great. So those are two of the biggest things that stand out for me when it comes to wrestler and moments.
All right. Well, thank you. Stefan, I'm interested to hear what you have to say about this. Is there somebody in NXT over the last several years, or NXT UK? Oh, wait, that wouldn't work. But
I'm going to say the obvious guy that nobody's mentioned, the American Badass, that version of the Undertaker.
Interesting.
And
okay.
I'm going to kind of go off script. There are so many like Yay America moments throughout wrestling because it's just one of those kind of businesses. Like you have a guy like Hacksaw Jim Duggan come out and the crowd just automatically chants USA. Why? Because it's just one of those kinds of businesses. You have a lot of moments like that. I'm going to go with my least favorite patriotic moment, and that was the Undertaker basically killing Muhammad Hassan and sending him packing, never to be seen again. That was super patriotic moment considering the events, but at the same time, I really liked that character, and I thought they had so many directions that they could still go with that character if they'd have just treated it delicately.
True heel heat. Yeah. That sucks when that happens. PG era.
Those are my answers.
All right, Aaron, I think character-wise, it's, to say Angle, to say Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Hulk Hogan, so obvious. I really liked Del Wilkes. I believe that's his real name, the Patriot. I mean, that was his name, the Patriot. I just think it was like right on the verge of the Attitude Era with him, and he just got lost. The timing wasn't there. I liked the way he worked. I know he really didn't do too much outside of that run in WWE, but my buddy and I always talked about Del Wilkes matches, Patriot matches back in high school, and I don't know. I have to give the nod to him. Now, for me, the best moment, gosh, I could easily say Lex Luger, right, touring the nation in the Lex Express, but I'm not going to. Yes, the Intrepid thing was cool, body slamming Yokozuna, but I gotta say Hogan beating Slaughter because of the time, that pushing the boundaries, right? Sergeant Slaughter, an American hero, right, just the gimmick, became an Iraqi sympathizer, and look, and he was getting booed and hate mail, and they had, Hogan went over again, but that was his classic patriotism right there. I know it got a little overshadowed because of the Warrior and Savage match, that event, but that's a shame, Aaron, that it didn't take place at the Coliseum or at the big stadium, and they had to take it to the smaller arena because it could have been even more epic for the Hogan going over Slaughter there. Aaron, what do you think on these topics?
You guys mentioned some great ones, going back to Sergeant Slaughter in the 80s, and then the Hulk Hogan run beating Iron Sheik, WrestleMania 7, Hogan versus Slaughter, Kurt Angle, Unforgiven in 2001, right after 9/11, winning the title, Milkomania, Sergeant Slaughter. You guys mentioned a lot of great ones. Undertaker as the American Badass. Man, there's just so many. And Lex Luger body slamming Yokozuna. Here's one that nobody mentioned. When Hulk Hogan and Edge won the tag team titles, I believe it was a 4th of July edition of SmackDown. And of course, Mr. America. A lot of people in the chat room brought up Mr. America. That has to be one at the top of the list And Caleb Jacobs, he was really happy with our Batman talk. He sent in another $3. Thank you, Caleb. He says, Jim Carrey was perfect to play the Riddler. I agree. He was a highlight
Absolutely.
of that movie.
Tommy Lee Jones was a great Two-Face.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think all those movies were pretty solid. But anyways, lots of great 4th of July moments. And all of the tribute to the troop shows, even though storyline-wise there wasn't much to them, they were always pretty cool to see those moments play out. And John Cena, everything he's done, for the USA and all that, John Cena would be up there as far as like top patriotic.
How about
wrestlers
this,
go.
Aaron? What about, I'm kind of mixed with this one. What about John Cena defeating Rusev at WrestleMania 31? We really wanted Rusev to get a monster push. So I'm kind of like not feeling that one because of the result and what ended up happening afterwards. What do you think about that one?
Well, that was a moment that people liked. I mean, I was there for WrestleMania 31, and the fans did like seeing John Cena overcome the evil foreigner, Rusev. I mean, it was pretty much just a recreation of the Hulk Hogan stuff. But yeah, John Cena was a great representative for the United States, and he would definitely be up there as well.
One of the things I remember about that match, though, is so many fans, I think, were all over the fact that Rusev got that cool entrance coming out on the tank.
Yeah, that tank was pretty badass.
Well, at that stage in Cena's career, Rusev should have beat him. But, hey, they don't do shit like that. So we'll move on to a new topic, kind of SmackDown. This might be your flavor here, Stefan. But I want to specifically say, wow, 1.8 million viewers, 1.7's,
Woof.
there's a lot we can talk about ratings-wise with that show after this topic maybe. But Matt Riddle has been on TV ever since his debut a lot. Yeah, he's mixing it up with Corbin. He wrestled Morrison, the whole AJ Styles thing. But the fact is, even despite controversy, they're pushing Matt Riddle, an MMA guy, okay? Now, yes, he's an MMA guy, but he really wrestles a unique style that a lot of wrestling fans like because he does everything. Shayna Baszler doesn't, and she's off TV. And supposedly rumors are Vince McMahon doesn't get her. So I just want to know everybody's take with those two scenarios. And Riddle's on there. Ratings aren't popping. Stefan, take it away. Talk about Riddle, Shayna, SmackDown, anything you want there.
Okay, so I think Riddle is very smart. From everything that's come out, like the lawyer statement and whatnot, and how long WWE's known about the accusation that came his way, it seems like he let them in on all potential bad news that could come from him joining the company when he joined the company. You know what I'm saying? Like, it said that he let them know 2 years ago about this woman and her allegations towards him, and that they've been investigating it ever since. And she took this opportunity to reiterate her claim, and they already knew about it. So he is dealt his hand very well. He is smart in the business, apparently, despite how he's portrayed on television or how he portrays himself with all the bros and looking like he's high all the time. As far as wrestling, that match with Morrison was awesome. And it wasn't just Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle sells very well. There was a move that Morrison did. He did a cartwheel over Matt Riddle, where Matt Riddle's on all fours, and he picks him up with the cartwheel into a power bomb, sets him on his shoulder, then brings him around back for a razor's edge, then spins him into a one-arm power bomb. That move was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
And I don't know if he could have done that with anybody else. I'm sure there's a few other people, but Riddle's just one of those guys. As great as he looks when he's on offense, he's equally as good selling the other person's moves. He's getting great on the mic. I used to hate this guy. When he came into NXT, I did not like him. He was terrible on the mic. He was so-so in the ring. But every time I saw him, he got better and better. Every time he was on the mic, he got better and better. And this guy deserves a spotlight for a while just to see what he could do. Just the opportunity, and then see what he could do.
So does he have that charisma, that pizzazz, that extra style beyond MMA that Shayna doesn't, where he's getting heavily featured? Shayna fizzled out pretty quickly on the main roster. Now, we don't know what the future holds still, but that's
he's got something, and I think the crux of it is his willingness to learn. He is always in there learning something new, something different. That way, the next time you see him, he's showing you something new, something different, a move you've never seen him do. Also, He's getting better at the moves that you see him do every match. You know, all those Cena kind of moves, the 5 moves of doom. But he's very, very good, and this comes from a guy that didn't like him at first.
And you know what? I did not like him on the Indies at first either. I saw him live here in Cleveland, and it didn't click with me, and then it did. So maybe we're onto something here. Maybe Matt Riddle just takes time to, you have to warm up to him. Aaron Riff, what's your thoughts here?
Well, first of all, we had a super chat from OG, which we'll address this in a little bit, but I'll mention it here real quick. Is Sting challenging The Undertaker? We will bring that up. There's once again speculation about Sting, talk about a possible cinematic match, but again, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Thank you for the super chat. As far as SmackDown ratings go, it's a combination of several things. Obviously, the pandemic is a factor. Raw's ratings have been down too. WWE's overall lack of ability to make new stars. And it's really difficult with the pandemic era because you don't know who's really catching on or not. You can only go by numbers. And so far, nobody's moving the needle. It's hard to say who's really making a difference. Riddle's going to need time. Riddle's not going to be this major star in one night. If WWE plays their cards right and pushes him strong and he builds momentum, he might get to that level at some point. And of course, I'm sure Virtue would agree with this one. Roman Reigns being gone, I think it's made a difference. I think Reigns does have a following, and he was pushed like the guy. And because of that, casual fans took him seriously as the guy. And with him being gone, there's some significant star power that's missing from the SmackDown brand. So I think it's a combination of all those things. And yeah, it was 4th of July weekend. That's going to be a factor as well. As Michael Wayne pointed out, it'll probably be back to 1.9, 2 million next week. And I'm guessing it will hover around that level until
it's interesting that you say that level, Aaron. 2 million people, okay? Before you continue here. When so SmackDown on Fox started, right? And we know they popped a huge number first. Well, remember, Raw was always the A show. Nope, not with SmackDown on Fox. They have to make that the A show now. So they put Roman on SmackDown. Raw consistently started losing to SmackDown in the ratings. Now, yes, when I bring up Roman in ratings, it's not the era of Austin, Brock, right? 4 million plus. Even Cena had that run. But we know this is the NXT factory era. No one star is bigger than the WWE. They script you. They give some people reasons not to like what they push. And Roman was caught in the middle of that. But what I do notice when he's absent, he was out for several months from leukemia, and now the pandemic, 500,000 people go with him. I went and I looked at the numbers around his leukemia. That was the case. From SmackDown from January to that, just before they started empty arenas at the Performance Center, 2.5 million people. I looked at ratings. Those 4 weeks Roman was on SmackDown leading into WrestleMania with empty arena at the Performance Center, still 2.5. Okay, you can say it was leading into WrestleMania. Yeah, it was leading into a WrestleMania that really wasn't going to be a full WrestleMania. As soon as Roman was gone, they're averaging since 2 million. That's 500,000 people, folks. He sustains 500,000 people that he takes with him when he's not working. Proven. Prove me wrong with that. I just had to mention that, Aaron. Back to you.
Oh, it's okay. I pretty much said my piece on the topic, and Dude McQuill wants to know why you're wearing shades indoors.
Because it's a 4th of July bash. Come on. Why must you ask a silly question?
It's a celebration. And Psycho Jet Black.
Right.
They are. Psycho Jet Black with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Psycho. He has his usual wacky comment here. He says, would you rather watch Jackson Riker versus Lars Sullivan or Bart Gunn versus Tank Abbott? Also,
Bart Gunn versus Tank Abbott.
Yeah, I agree on that. Also, Perry Saturn's mop has better promos than Ricochet. Jeez. He really doesn't like Ricochet.
Okay, Sangashaku, I probably botched your name there, but I have to botch it at least once because I botch names. Back to you on this topic. And I'm interested on your take how the Shayna thing, too, just disappearing.
Yeah, so I was reading earlier on NoDQ what was being said here about Shayna Baszler, and this is just one of the things that's frustrating to watch about WWE nowadays is they give up so quick on some of these people. Like they were pushing her out of the gate. I was one of the few people out there that was totally fine with the booking of her in Elimination Chamber, and then it's like as soon as they're done with WrestleMania, they got her off of TV. They did bring her back for the ladder match, but it's like give these wrestlers a chance, let their characters to develop, and if they don't catch fire, then okay, at least you can say that you tried. But to just basically go ahead and just remove them only like what 2-4 months or just at least 2 months in, that's the thing. They need to give more time, I feel, to these characters to really develop and capture the attention of the audience. In terms of Matt Riddle, I think once again he's another guy that can go on to being a big star as long as they don't screw it up. And like, are they going to get too impatient? I really hope, like what you've been saying, Virtue, on Twitter, you were saying that, with him being so outspoken, that's the type of guy that Vince McMahon's going to respect. And I hope that Vince McMahon looks at the guys like, wow, this guy, he talks his mind, he's not afraid. And basically he'll go ahead and push him, hopefully, with Brock Lesnar. I don't know if the match will ever happen, but just imagine when him and Brock go ahead one-on-one, there's already some built-in storyline tension there, even though we haven't seen him on screen, just because we know how outspoken Matt Riddle's been. That match with John Morrison was incredible. It just reinforces to me why I hope to see John Morrison finally get a run as in the WWE Championship picture, get him at least one world title. And then as far as the ratings go, I think this is just basically the pandemic really hurried what I feel we've all noticed about WWE over the years. That's that there's been a lack of character development, a lack of really consistent storylines and everything. And then when the pandemic is over, people are like, well, you took away all the glitz and glamour of the crowd, and now it's like a lot of the casual fans left. So I just want to see more patience built up with these guys, and hopefully one day they can get back to that whole can we top the next week attitude, because that's what made the Attitude Era so fun to watch.
I think we're reading too far into the whole Shayna Baszler thing, though. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world for a character to be off the television for a while. As far as everything I've heard, the only thing that seems sort of official is that they just don't have anything for her right now, which can be fine. That also could mean they have something specific planned for the future. For instance, what if Ronda Rousey decides she wants to come back and they decide they want to put her with the other four horsewomen of the MMA, which they can do. Do you want to continue to push Baszler now so that she's like now, level with Ronda Rousey as far as her main event status, or do you want to keep her back a little bit so that Ronda Rousey's the star of the group? I mean, there's all kinds of possibilities. I'm just saying it's not necessarily a bad thing that they don't know what to do with her right now. Maybe they're just waiting on the right thing.
They have something right at their fingertips with her. Owen Hart and Steve Blackman and Ken Shamrock and all the Lions Den stuff, that was just mid-card during an era of all the big Austin and Rock stuff. And it was good filler, good mid-card stuff. During a time of a pandemic, where's the Lions Den? Why aren't they finding a dungeon and having Natty versus Shayna? It's right there at their fingertips, and they are too stupid to even think about good stuff. Fans would love that stuff. They would.
We had the Lions Den on NXT. The closest thing we're going to see to it.
Yeah, that version of it. And again, one and done, I bet, though. Continue off of it. I don't know. We'll see.
And I'll add this too. The thing is, like, if they are just taking her off time, giving her time off on TV just so they can bring her back for something bigger when they come up with it, that's fine. But it just feels like so many times in WWE, are they doing it because of that reason, or is it doing because they don't believe in it? It's so hard to know.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, let's move a little bit over here to Chris Jericho. He's been very defensive lately with these ratings. NXT's won the total viewership 2 weeks in a row now. Am I correct on that, Aaron?
Correct.
Barely a little bit this past week, but Jericho's always quick to point out, well, we win the demo. What is the demo, 18 to 49? It's some range like that.
Yeah.
Very defensive. Jericho, he kind of got rubbed the wrong way in WCW. Bischoff, the whole Goldberg thing didn't happen. He really thought he could be a player. Didn't have to always go over. He was willing to job to Goldberg in a squash match. He just wanted to be on pay-per-view. He went to WWE for greener pastures. The rest is history. So I know Jericho working with an Orange Cassidy wanting to get these unknown to casuals over. So I respect that. He's going to do what he's got to do. I just want everybody's take, because it's kind of, to me, with his heel gimmick, the inner circle leader, really going on Twitter and talking about ratings, like that's my boy Jericho, and it kind of turns me off. Aaron, what do you think on this particular thing? And I don't mind him feuding with Orange Cassidy. I know Vince Russo's like, seriously, why? But not everybody's gonna. It's not gonna all be Jericho versus Moxley matches. You know what I mean? They have to try to have some of these newer people go against well-knowns like Jericho, right, to see what happens.
Yeah.
And so I'm actually disagreeing with Russo there.
Interesting comments there about Jericho. I think he's just trying to work people up, and I mean the demos are important as far as advertising goes, so he's right about that.
Supposedly.
Yeah. I think AEW is doing okay under the current circumstances. Obviously, it would be nice if the numbers were higher. They've started off really strong. Remember, their first show did like 1.4 million, and they've been dropping ever since, and they've dropped even more since the pandemic began. I just hope that after this feud with Orange Cassidy is done, like Jericho will move on to perhaps a rematch with Moxley. Like that's something that I felt was going to be happening, but then Jericho went in a different direction. Orange Cassidy, it's a comedy act. I'm not sure if he's going to reach the next level. I think Jericho's just having fun with it, and that's why he's doing the storyline, to have a little bit of fun and take a break from the main event. But I do think that Jericho is best off being in the main event programs, or at the very least working with a guy who's going to be built as the next star. And as much as I like Orange Cassidy, I don't think he's going to be that guy. And Dude McCool thinks Jericho should take a break before he gets stale. Well, I think, with Fozzy not able to tour, that's probably not going to happen. I think Jericho's going to be doing the wrestling stuff probably for the rest of the year until he's able to go off and work with Fozzy. But that was one of the good things.
He knows when to take a break.
He does, but I feel like when Fozzy was able to do shows, that gave him an easy way to step away from wrestling. He could go off and do stuff with the band, and he could go off and record an album or something. So, yeah, it might be good for Jericho to take another break soon. But, yeah, next guy he feuds with, if it's not Moxley, I think it's got to be somebody who you're grooming to be a main event guy in AEW that can get the rub off of Jericho.
I'd still like to see a tag match where it's like Jericho and Guevara versus Mike Tyson and somebody, kind of like they did with the Dennis Rodman and stuff in WCW. Yes, goofy, but very entertaining. Son, what do you think on this?
So I guess I was wondering, because the ratings started going down. Well, not severely going down, but more so losing to NXT when Jon Moxley was off. So, kind of, you were talking about Roman Reigns, how many people he took with him. Kind of makes me wonder just how big of a draw was Jon Moxley for the show. He's been off for 2 weeks, and both times NXT beat him. So that's interesting just to see the direction they're going in with him as champion, how he connects with the audience. And then basically, I think maybe it's just their plans, because they had plans, like I said, for Moxley to be in the main event, and maybe that's kind of like gone down. But I think I'm seeing some great stuff, though, for AEW. I think the Taz promo was awesome. I do actually want to say something in terms of AEW, that by having, what was it? You had Wardlow lose, and then you had, what was it after that? Lance Archer, and then possibly now they're going to have Brian Cage lose. I really wish they stopped bringing these big monsters in and then beat them right away.
Lost to Cody too. It's like, come on, Cody. Like, I get it. You're not in the main event in terms of the main title, but come on, don't be a Jeff Jarrett. Don't be a Jeff Jarrett.
And see, here's an idea I was hoping they were going to do. Instead of pushing back the title match 2 weeks coming up, I thought instead, how about they go ahead and take a page out of UFC's book, make Brian Cage the interim world champion, let him go on this tear for the rest of the summer, have Jon Moxley kind of stay out, and then when you build up to the next, what is it, All Out 2, you can bring them back, have this undisputed championship match, because it just means so much more to build up a monster, go on this tear, and it's like, oh, what's going to happen when these two clash, and to just beat them right off the bat.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a great point on the monsters getting beat early. Great point.
All right, now the game is on 100 sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. He says, AEW's first two world champions are former WWE guys. Well done, AEW, for establishing talent. Okay, they just started. I don't mind Jericho and Moxley being the first two champions. I've always said this. I think the next champion should be somebody who's not a former WWE guy. So whether it's Brian Cage or MJF, I think that the guy that beats Moxley should be a homegrown talent, and I would pick either Brian Cage. I would not mind seeing Brian Cage win the title at Fight for the Fallen, but I feel like that's probably not going to happen. And Adrian sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says 2020, the year of 2.0 characters. Well, thank you for that, Adrian. And there's another super chat here, but we'll get to that once we finish this topic. Virtue?
So, Stefan, I'm going to come to you now. NXT seems like they have, and I know it's 700 some thousand, have some momentum here. What do you think?
Well, for the most part, NXT hasn't really done anything different than they normally do. I think there's a combination of what Sun said, a lack of Jon Moxley on AEW. But I think if you look at the content, like Jericho's talking about the 18 to 20 or 35 demographic, and I'm sitting here thinking that's also male demographic. They're not thinking about the female demographic. The one thing that's been consistent about the last 2 weeks of NXT television, they've been very female heavy. The main event this week was great, despite the fact that there were no titles on the line or anything. You know, Sasha Banks and Bayley being on the show 2 weeks in a row. I think if AEW wants to fight whatever momentum has switched here, concentrate on the women's division a little, I think they need to pump some serious money into the women's division. They definitely need Tessa Blanchard, regardless of her how they talk about her. But
I agree.
I think that's the one demographic they're not thinking about, and that might be, you know, a significant shift in numbers to just kick it NXT's way every time that it's a woman-heavy show, especially with the main event. You might NXT win for a couple of weeks if Sasha Banks and Bayley keep showing up.
Well, and I'm going to take that one step further. Like you said, Son, maybe because it's Moxley being out, which has allowed AEW to slip a little bit. Let's see the traction that Keith Lee has, because he's starting to get pushed pretty good and NXT's bumping up. Maybe this guy could be a budding star. Maybe casuals are interested in this guy. That we got to wait it out and see how it all plays out.
All right, now
super chats.
Yeah, before we get to the next topic here, Good Looks sent in a $5 super chat. He says, now that SummerSlam will take place at the Performance Center, not confirmed by the way, but looking like it, he says, do you see WWE having the Hall of Fame on the coming Crown Jewel show in Saudi Arabia as their big return with fan attendance? No, because I don't think that the virus is going to be under control by the time the next Crown Jewel show is scheduled, which is, you know, late October, early November, somewhere around there. And international travel might still be an issue. Until there's a vaccine or a cure, like, we're not going to have these 60,000 seat events. And even in Saudi Arabia, a 20,000 seat event, I think is unlikely until there's a vaccine. So that's probably going to be 2021.
All right, Aaron. Next topic here. What's the direction here with Strowman and Wyatt? Like, I just want everybody's take. You know, we were at SummerSlam last year when we saw that entrance with The Fiend, and, you know, they just booked him poorly with the Seth Rollins stuff. You know, they didn't have to put a title on him. The mystique of the gimmick was there. Didn't need the prop. Now, you know, could we get the three faces of Wyatt? You know, Bayou Bray, Mr. Rogers Bray, and The Fiend. Okay, the Mick Foley tribute, that's good and dandy. Strowman had a hell of a feud with Roman a few years back, and then it just fizzled out with Brock Lesnar. And this turn, and it sucks for these two now doing this in front of no crowd. Can this turn, what direction, let me ask this question instead, could this lead to the better for both men? Stefan, I'm going to start with you on this one.
Okay, I think on the surface, this is all nostalgia to the gimmick, because when you're watching the intros and the cutaways on SmackDown, and you get that sense like you did when Bray Wyatt first showed up, and it was kind of a big thing, and then they ruined him. You know, you think about it longer, and the more you think about it, the more you think about how they ruined that character, so much so that he had to go away and come back with the Firefly Funhouse to be taken seriously again. I think this is their effort to probably bury that character once and for all. This will be Braun Strowman getting rid of, like you called him, Bayou Bray. And then we will only have, the Mr. Rogers, Bray Wyatt, and The Fiend, moving forward, at least for the near future. I mean, they'll always bring shit back if it suits their purpose.
Yeah.
But I think this is just sort of a stop along the way. It gives them something to do for this pay-per-view. It sort of gets this character of Bray out of the way. And then maybe at SummerSlam, that's where we see The Fiend versus the Monster Among Men. And then that's when he wins the title.
All right, I like that take. Yeah, I like that take. Son, do you remember the Shield versus the Wyatts? Was there some electricity in that arena? Remember when they had those faces? What happened? Just what happened? More specifically to the Wyatts.
Going back to what I was saying earlier, not giving these guys the opportunity. Well, they gave Bray plenty of opportunities, just they had him lose all those big matches. When they first brought Bray Wyatt's character back, I was like, just taking a step back. I wasn't feeling it, but I got to be honest, I enjoyed Braun Strowman's promo. I enjoyed the video package when they gave us a little preview of what the swamp area is going to look like. So, and hearing that everyone involved behind the scenes are the ones that did the Boneyard match, I'm actually really intrigued for this match and interested to see where it's going. I just hope there's a good story behind it. Like I was thinking would be really cool. I'm going to bring up Avengers Endgame. I think they did a story in there where Bruce, he turned into the Hulk and got beat up by Thanos, and for the rest of the movie, the Hulk was afraid to come out. What if that is the story? That's why Bray's been going to the Mr. Rogers. He's been going back because ever since he got beat by Goldberg, the Fiend has been afraid to come out, and Bray has to do this inner battle with himself and be like, you know what? We got to get back to our winning streaks. We got to beat the man that beat the guy that beat me. And maybe after Strowman finishes all of Bray's other alter egos, he becomes the Fiend, and that's where he finally beats him at SummerSlam and goes on to that lengthy reign. But I don't know if they're going to put that deep of a storyline, but they have the potential to go there. So, that's the best way I could think of to bring the Fiend back. That's why he's been gone all these months, because he just has this inner battle where he's afraid because he lost. I would love to see something like that, and if that's where they're going with it.
I wish they never let the Goldberg thing happen.
Yeah.
That was in Saudi Arabia, so can we just say what happens in Saudi Arabia stays in Saudi Arabia?
Right.
Aaron, what's your take here?
Well, first of all, son, I think you put more thought into the storyline and the character than WWE does. So there's that. We do have a few super chats.
It's just the best way for it to make sense for why the Fiend hasn't been going here. I just wish they put that logic with it.
Yeah, it just goes to show. I wish WWE would put as much thought into it as you do. Instead, they're just like, we're going to change plans on a weekly basis, and they really have no long-term thought into how these characters are going to develop over a period of time. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat, says, Braun Strowman was ruined by the Money in the Bank failed cash-in and heel turn. Well, to me, the first moment where it went downhill for Braun was when he lost to Brock Lesnar at that No Mercy pay-per-view. I was at that one, and that was such a letdown. That really took a lot of steam away from Braun. Remember, he was coming off of doing all that crazy stuff to Roman that got him over, and then he loses to Brock, and it's just, not even much of a match. It's like a 5-minute match, and Brock beats him, and no bells and whistles, nothing really happening. Johnny Boy sent in a $5 super chat, which we'll get to here in a moment. Well, maybe we'll talk about this after we finish this topic. He said, favorite matches and moment you have seen live, happy 4th. We'll get to that in a second, Johnny. And the This Guy Experience sent in a $2 super chat, says, should WWE go on break due to COVID after Mania? We've talked about this. They probably should have, but WWE has television contracts. There's too much money on the line, so they're not doing it. And that's just the way it is. So, yeah. As far as why it goes, to me, it's just filler. They want to do The Fiend versus Strowman at SummerSlam, so they decided they have to come up with something just to kill time until then. And it's non-title, which leads me to believe that Bray's going to win. Although, kind of silly, if Bray Wyatt wins, why even bother bringing out The Fiend for SummerSlam? So I don't know, but it's annoying, and maybe the cinematic match will be entertaining, but yeah, I wish they were able to come up with something a little bit more intriguing, in my opinion.
All right. Well, we got a little buffer before our main event here, and a legend. I guess we could consider him a legend. He's been in all the major promotions. Bully Ray, currently supposedly not tied down to any organization. He's got a great podcast. So, Taz had a great podcast, and I love what Taz is doing. I love what MVP is doing. I'd like to see more managers in wrestling. What Matt Hardy's doing now, being a mentor. I think there's some life left for Bully Ray in one of the top 4 organizations. I don't think WWE, because obviously I think Devon's agent there. It's just not, how WWE is, just doesn't work there. But Impact, who seems like they might need some different faces back there recently, especially recently, or AEW. I think Bully Ray could make one more difference in the mentor role, maybe even work a couple matches. What does everybody think here? Son, I'm going to start with you. He impressed me in TNA when he was the main event heel Bully Ray. Because he was always a tag team wrestler. And you know how when JBL became a singles champion, he completely just turned that gimmick. And, whether you liked it or didn't, I was like, holy crap, wow, something different. I like to see a wrestler grow like that. Bully Ray did the same thing to me, breaking away from tag team wrestling. It was unfortunate that it just happened in TNA when only a couple 100,000 people watched it. What do you think here, Stan?
Yeah, it would have been very interesting had they allowed him to be Bully Ray in WWE, because it's just same thing. Everyone who went back to Impact Wrestling and made themselves even bigger and better, and then went back to WWE, it's like they didn't capitalize on it, other than probably you could say Drew McIntyre. I really wanted to see what the Bully Ray gimmick could have been like, or persona in WWE. As far as though Impact Wrestling, if he goes back, that's cool. I really wasn't too big of a fan of the whole Aces and Eights storyline, but the one thing I enjoyed every week was Bully Ray, his promos, his character, everything around Bully Ray with Aces Eight. That was my favorite part of that whole storyline. It would be cool to maybe see him thrive in what is it, AEW with Broken Matt, like see Matt and Bully Ray one more time, but now with these new personas that they're known for. So I think wherever he goes, it should be pretty good. I'm probably always going to look back that it's sad that we never got to see him do that character or persona in WWE.
Well, I didn't think I'd see Taz back. He was, his radio show, doing really well with that. And when you're in the wrestling business, you always find your way back. Stefan, what do you think here?
Well, I don't know about the other promotions, so I'm just going to go with what I know. I know you said, probably not WWE, but I'm going to go with WWE. I'm going to start with NXT. They could send him to NXT, let him be a manager of a team that needs something to get them over. That just can't. And I'm thinking, what kind of team is Hard Knock enough? And I'm thinking Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. I think he could take that team and give them some sort of personality and help them get over to a point to where they're credible. Because right now, they're just not. They're dull.
And he cuts good promos. He's a good talker.
Maybe in WWE, you quietly get rid of Jackson Riker and you put Bully Ray with the Forgotten Sons instead, and let him try to help get them over with some sort of blend their gimmicks or something. Let him give them a new gimmick, something. You could do that. I'd be down to see that.
And I'd like I said, I know how it is with wrestlers, because they just, as much as they want to go away, some actually do get to leave the business and they're well off, but it's in their blood. They love it. That's all they really know how to do, and their passion for it. So I'd like to see him do. And I think the WWE send-off was crappy. So I'd like to see him do one more thing. And Ring of Honor's fizzled out from what it used to be. Aaron Rift, what do you think here?
My gut feeling is he's going to end up back with Impact Wrestling for something, which to me it's been there, done that. I would like to see him go to AEW and maybe do something similar to MVP, where he comes in as a wrestler, maybe has one or two big matches, puts over somebody, and then transitions into like a manager role. And maybe even what Stefan said, but with an AEW team. Look at what Taz is doing. Bully Ray is a great talker. He could be a mouthpiece for somebody that could benefit from somebody like Bully Ray talking for him. So AEW would be a good place. And even like Stefan said, maybe WWE representing somebody might be a good thing for him to do. But yeah, I think if I had to make a prediction, I feel like Impact Wrestling is going to be the place. But we'll see. Maybe not. And we do have a super chat that I wanted to make sure we get to from Johnny Boy. He sent in $5. He says, Favorite matches and moment you have seen live. Happy 4th. Virtue, I'll throw this over to you and any other thoughts you have on Bully.
No, Bully Ray, like I said, I dig his stuff. He's one of those hard knocks, old school guys. Great promo. Come back and do something. Like I see MVP, I see Taz. You don't have to be a full-time worker. I'd like to see you on the camera. So we'll see with that. Gosh, I've seen so much live, Aaron. But for just some reason, the thing that always sticks out is Unforgiven 2011, in Cleveland. Chris Jericho and Shawn Michaels early in the show had that strap match where Michaels just beat the crap. I mean, literally, Jericho had welts and blood all over him. And they did the whole swerve where CM Punk got taken out of the scramble match. At the end of the night, I'm standing in the arena, and one bloody Chris Jericho is the world champion. That was how he snuck in at the end. The whole scenario between those two matches, because Jericho's my boy, that has to be it still today. I popped like a mark at the end of that show because of the booking.
I think I'm tied. Like, because the young me, the WCW, I would say, was it Sold Out? It was one of the NWO pay-per-views where Hogan and Flair had a first blood match inside a cage. And that was pretty awesome. Because despite Flair being the babyface, the whole Louisville crowd was chanting for Hogan. Because we still love the NWO. But
you got a big arena down there in Kentucky?
The adult me is Toronto, seeing The Fiend debut live, and also, him beating Finn Balor, who me and Jerry got to meet, walking the streets of Toronto. Come to see you guys at a bar where you guys were already sitting there eating, and we got to meet Finn Balor.
Just goes to show.
So I've been to a few shows now, I think since 07 to last year Survivor Series. But out of all the shows that I've gone to, the biggest match that will always stand was at Money in the Bank 2011. I was there for CM Punk and John Cena. The atmosphere of the crowd was off the charts. I have never been a part of anything.
Don't you miss those crowds?
Oh, absolutely. It was tremendous. Just seeing that. And the whole show was great. It's one of my all-time favorite shows. So just the atmosphere, it's just amazing. Every time I look back, it was 14,000 people there. I was one of them for that amazing moment. So the atmosphere was just amazing. That's all I can always say about it, the total atmosphere of that place. So that's definitely hands down my favorite, and it being in person.
I like that, obviously. Aaron, what about you?
Well, on going back to earlier when we were talking about patriotic wrestlers and Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 21, I think, was the best match I've ever seen in person. And then maybe the best moment would be WrestleMania 31 with Seth Rollins cashing in Money in the Bank, and also that RKO to Rollins from Orton earlier on the show was pretty badass to see in person. And some of those NXT takeovers, the one that we all saw in 2018 in Chicago, that was a great show, and the one we did in Toronto last summer, that one was great too. The takeovers were always amazing to watch in person. We have a super chat here from Monfile9. He says, and UGX 5000, whatever that is, do you think Ricochet will ever be WWE champion, and how would you book him? He ain't going to be champion. Highly unlikely in all likelihood, and I wouldn't book him to be champion in the first place. I mean, he's a great guy, great athlete, but, it's like Rey Mysterio. Same thing, like, awesome competitor and should be, towards the top of the card because he's damn good. But, because of his size, and he's the little high flyer, it's hard for me to suspend disbelief. It's somebody in the chat room mentioned earlier, like, WWE should not push these guys, and AEW should not push these giants because it's not the 1980s. The thing about those guys is that they stand out. They are larger than life. The guys with the star power, they tend to have that physical presence. There's something special. They're beyond your average person. The problem with the Ricochets and Rey Mysterios is, they're great athletes, and a lot of the guys in AEW and NXT are great athletes, but they would not stand out in a crowd. Like, if you go to the airport and they were just in street clothes, like, you would just think they're a random person. Hulk Hogan, The Rock, and a lot of the biggest stars in wrestling, if they walk into a room, you notice them right away. They
Yeah.
have that presence.
I got a problem with that comment. It hasn't evolved. It's stuck in the 80s. Get real. Look at the crowds in the 80s. To the person that made that comment, look at the crowds in the 80s. The ratings, the pay-per-view buys. Those larger-than-life guys drew money. What are they doing today? Absolutely nothing. Decline is what I'm seeing. And I have an honorable mention for match I've seen in person, especially now that comment just came out. Roman Reigns and Jinder Mahal, Money in the Bank 2018. I had the time of my life during that match. Maybe the most vocal I've ever been as a mark in the crowd. And I loved it. And not one damn soul in Chicago, the violent, hostile Chicago, was going to come over to me and tell me to shut up. They let me do my thing, and they sat and they watched in awe. That was a good time, Aaron and Stefan. You know it. And Son, you were in the building for that too, weren't you?
Shout out to our friend Steve-O. We actually went into we decided not to watch the match because I'm not believing the whole thing. Like when Cena would come out, people were like, boom, so WWE can really. I'm like, no, they're just gonna spin it to say it as well. He gets a reaction and stuff. So the best thing to do is just don't watch the match. So we left and we hanged out during that match. But the whole hallways were so full. I remember during that moment. But there was a good video. I remember Virtue where you were saying you're all reacting.
And the best part about it is so you and Stefan didn't even. I think he stepped out for that match. I can't remember. And yet earlier this show, I talked about Roman Reigns having a group of 500,000 fans that go with him when he's not on TV. I rest my case.
Yeah, you went viral on that video.
But anyway, good times. Good times, because this is the bash we got to bring up. All right, main event time.
Wait.
I swear. Go ahead, Aaron.
We have a couple more super chats here. Psycho Jet Black with $2 says, "Son, who is the Krillin and Yamaka? I can't pronounce it. Of WWE and AEW."
The Krillin Yamcha of WWE and AEW. I would say I think Ricochet would be Krillin because, like Krillin, he fights his heart out, and Ricochet fights his heart out. He loses a lot, but he's going to fight his heart out. As far as Yamcha, gosh, I got to think of who's constantly jobs in AEW. Whoever constantly has done the most jobs in AEW is Yamcha. I don't remember who it is, but somebody probably has the worst win-loss record. Whoever
the librarian.
Library.
There you go, probably. So yeah. Whoever has the most losses in AEW, they're Yamcha.
We also have a UGX. I want to know what UGX is. 2000 from Monfile9. So you agree with
robot.
So you agree with Braun Strowman about the Indies? I'm not even sure what that comment means.
That's when he said, bust your ass to get. Yeah, indie people pushing to make money. Something like that. So he got controversy. I mean, it is what it is. Wrestlers, at the end of the day, are all workers. If they really have problems with one another, address it with private messages or through the grapevine, through people that know. Don't do it publicly. It's tacky.
All right, now Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat, and Virtue, this is for you. He says, "Virtue reminds me of Ed Ferrara with a backwards hat."
I like Ed. I met him once. I never met Vince Russo other than on camera, but Ed Ferrara, a TV writer. He's not a wrestling guy. He is a television writer. He actually was one of several writers that has done episodes of things that actually aired on TV that's not wrestling. So respect for that. Thanks for calling me Ed Ferrara.
All right, main event time.
Okay, I swear it was our last show, 101. We talked about the Taker announcing his retirement. Now, from traditional matches, perhaps, right? I think it was just a good way to end a documentary. In wrestling, you just never retire. Shawn Michaels is the perfect example. Ric Flair to a degree. So could we get a Sting, the Stinger, versus the Undertaker? And I'm not talking back in WCW when it was Mean Mark Calloway versus the Stinger. I don't even know if those were real pictures, Aaron, but I think they locked up before. But could we get Sting versus the Undertaker, and perhaps like a cinematic match? Could WWE pay these guys enough money to do this? Obviously, the Boneyard match was a hit. I just want to know everybody's take because Sting mentioned, hey, anything's possible. So, Stephen Osborne, I'm going to go to you first.
I think you have to take the speculation for a grain of salt in this. There's a big difference, and by that I mean time-wise and preparation-wise, between thinking about maybe Sting versus The Undertaker versus it actually happening. I finally watched the Undertaker documentary. I spent 2 days watching 5 episodes, and like his preparation to get ready for these matches that we think he's just, born ready for is ridiculous. It takes him months. And this is after Vince says, hey, I might need you. And so maybe, and with this, the whole idea of a cinematic match, it's timely. You can do it now and get away with it and have another match that he's super proud of and going out with. And him and Sting can both work very safely. I think it's a great idea, but actually doing it is going to take a lot of time. And I don't know, if The Undertaker was really, really done, then he probably is not ready to step back into a ring anytime soon. So it's a long shot, I think.
Well, okay. Son, what about, won't step back in the ring? What about the Boneyard? Yeah, you know what I mean. So I get it. The prep it takes to have an actual match in front of a camera and live people where you don't get to stop and film it over the course of a day.
Well, he said even with that situation, by the time they were done filming, he felt like he had been through a 45-minute match.
Well, you could say stuff for a documentary. Undertaker is one of the best workers of all time.
Right.
I don't believe everything's truth. They ham it up. But great point, Stefan, because very well could be. Son, what do you think here?
All right, till this day, I still don't understand how WWE had Sting and Undertaker both on the same match at WrestleMania 31. I was always saying they should have that match, get that match out the way, and if they go ahead, they can at least work with younger stars. But then we saw what happened. But yeah, this cinematic style match is definitely probably the best way to utilize Undertaker and Sting. Use some of their mythical powers and stuff, like lightning versus crows and stuff like that. They can do that type of stuff. If you could even work it in a sense where most of the match is cinematic and it blacks out, and then they have like maybe their last 5 or 3 minutes of the match in the ring, and then that way we get that last standing ovation as both men basically go off to the darkness with their careers. It would be cool, but with the whole pandemic situation going on, don't know how long that's going to be. They're going to get older, so I don't know what they'll do there. But I do say this: when I was on Twitter, I saw that everyone said Taker retired. So when I got home, I finally watched episode 5 of The Last Ride, and the way Taker talked at the end, he sort of just hinted that he's kind of done. Like, I feel like he's at peace knowing that the end is near for his career, but I feel like he probably wants to go out at least in front of a crowd, and I think it would just only feel right. But like I said, I think the cinematic is definitely the best route. If they can find some way to do that and just have that last 2 minutes be in front of the crowd, I think it could work.
Great point. Now, Aaron, if they ever did a cinematic, could we see the blonde-haired? Could they see the blonde-haired Sting? You know how they did the whole stuff with Wyatt and Cena.
Yes.
A lot of possibilities of good stuff. Just cutting away and having you come out and go, woo. What do you think?
Absolutely, that's a great idea. And son,
Hollywood makeup artists.
Again, I feel like you should be on WWE's creative team because you come up with some solid ideas
all of us
here.
Because we pay attention, Aaron.
If done right and you come up with some good ideas, you could absolutely produce something that's very entertaining. And if there was ever a time to do Sting and Undertaker, this would be the time. You got a pandemic, you need something to get fans tuned in, and this is an opportunity to do something with these guys. Yes, Sting is probably not going to be cleared to do a regular match, but a cinematic match where they're limited in what they're doing, it can be very protected. And they
start with blonde Sting versus the original Dead Man, and then have Crow Sting versus the corporate Dead Man, and then you move on to I guess I don't know where would Sting or like NWO
Red and Black
Sting. Red and Black Sting versus the American Badass, and then Joker Sting versus the new Dead Man.
Money.
I would love that. Like if they did like a mix of the Boneyard match with the Firefly Funhouse, and Undertaker would, kind of like, the cartoon where each person has like the little weapon and then they draw the bigger weapon on each other, like that sort of thing where Undertaker is down and out, he comes to a different persona, and then Sting is down and out, he comes into a new persona. Like, I love that. That would be so much fun. But let's get to some of these super chats and see what everybody else thought about it. Adrian sent in a $2 super chat, says, Sting versus Undertaker in a nursing home match, RIP. Oh, Adrian, why you gotta be a party pooper here? And Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, Sting is bitter that he never fought Undertaker. Well, again, I don't blame him. And there was an opportunity.
We're all bitter.
I mean, part of it was Sting's deal because he kept taking Dixie Carter's money. And hey, you know, it's a business. He's doing what's best for business. But Undertaker and Sting should have happened like in 2011, I think, for it to have its maximum impact. But yeah, they could have done it 2015. And they went with Triple H instead. That was very frustrating.
The year after the second Michaels loss, that would have been perfect.
And did I mention Jake's? I think I did mention Jake's super chat. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 one says Joker Sting versus Mean Mark Calloway ladder match. Well, I don't know if we necessarily need to see Mean Mark, but I mean that would be pretty cool too, just to see something different. But I'd like to see the different, like, I'd like to see Ministry of Darkness Undertaker show up. That would be cool. Yeah, Jake Lee Carpenter, in case I missed it, said, finally made a live stream. Keep up the good work. And Adrian sent in $2, says, who's more over, Psycho Jet Black, COVID-19, or Virtue? Virtue, come on now. But, son, I'm going to put you on the spot. Who's more over, Psycho Jet Black, COVID, or Virtue?
Virtue.
Well, there you go. I mean, see, we back up our friends. You know, believe it or not.
For real?
Dude, I got sidetracked. So our Sting versus Taker, who did I start
Sting virus ain't over with anybody.
The Sting versus Taker discussion. Did I start with you, Stefan?
I don't remember. Yeah.
Who wants to talk about this next? Because I don't think we all talked about it yet.
Did you talk about it?
I don't know. Who? NoDQ Galaxy. Yeah, I want it to happen. Come on. I was suggesting that we saw the Surfer Stinger dude. You know what I mean? Like, just cinematic wrestling with that crew that worked on the Boneyard match and Jeremy Borash. And dude, it's money. Like, I know it's not traditional wrestling, but when you have two guys that could draw money and excitement, that, you know, you're not going to have a match in a ring in front of people like you would have, like you said, Aaron, in 2011, that leaves life at the end of the tunnel. Do it one more time. That's what I think.
I'll even say this to go one step farther. I know it costs a lot of money, but if they can get some top VFX effects artists who do CGI in Hollywood, they could use the de-aging technology, get some stunt doubles, and really create a masterpiece. If there were ever two legends to spend that type of money on to really create a cinematic masterpiece, it'd be them.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, Jake Lee Carpenter sent in a $2 super chat, says, who wins though? Surely Sting cannot lose again. Ooh, yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, maybe Sting could win that one. I don't think Undertaker necessarily needs to win the match, but he's Vince's guy and Sting's the WCW guy. So, you know, maybe
it's
like
finally
a Freddie versus. Go ahead.
Maybe it's finally a career match. You know, somebody ends his career definitely with a match. You just don't do it at WrestleMania. That way, you don't have him expected to win. Do it at like Royal Rumble. Or something.
Do like a Freddie versus Jason, where at the end of that movie, it looked like Jason won, but he carried Freddie's head and Freddie winked. Have Sting turn into a crow and fly away. You know what I mean? Like if Taker did get the win. Just have something real cool at the end no matter who. Yeah.
I like it. Like Undertaker's like getting on his bike again and going off into the sunset, but then like a crow flies on him and then there's a close up of the crow and it looks like
maybe the crow's on his shoulder and they ride out together. Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, it doesn't take rocket science to come up with good ideas, but the man in charge doesn't listen to anybody. And I don't know if they have anybody there that gives good ideas, but.
Yeah, somebody with a good creative mind could put together a really fun match with these guys. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. He says, at least I'm more over than EC3. I have a job. Well, clearly he's got a job to send in all these super chats ripping into EC3.
Great discussion. Does anybody else want any more super chats? Anybody want to talk more about anything we've talked about? Add something? I am content for this bash 4th of July. I think it's movie time. tonight.
I'll just say NXT, I thought Io Shirai and Sasha Banks put on a really fun main event. So and this is the importance of what I want to say between AEW and NXT, the importance of competition. Look how strongly Triple H and his crew is trying to push NXT on Wednesday nights, and AEW is trying to push. This is what competition breeds, to bring out the best in others. So this goes back to what I always said about AEW being around. That's what we want. We want both companies to push each other to be the best, so that we, the fans, win.
I'd love to see both companies get to 1 million over time each. I would. I really would. I think that there's enough people out there that watch wrestling. As we know, there's still 2 million around, even during a pandemic, that watch Raw and SmackDown. That would be great if that could happen.
I maintain AEW needs to succeed. They need to beat NXT. Not just, get back above them and then now there's this Wednesday night war. They need to far surpass. They need to hit 1 million and beyond, and actually be a legitimate, second choice for these wrestlers that are drowning in the WWE.
Yep. Well, yes, Cody's getting pushed strong in terms of winning matches at that title that he has now, but I mean, Cody's not main event. Kenny Omega's not main event. The Young Bucks. Those are the guys, the elite, that they thought AEW was going to be built off of. And I get it. They don't want the Jeff Jarrett TNA Impact effect. But maybe if those guys were all pushed if the elite were actually elite and all at the top of the game, and MJF was a rival, heel, whatever, maybe the numbers would go up. I'm just saying, maybe now with the honeymoon's over, push all of your guys that the people clamor about now. Hangman Page, push him, right? He should be a star in the making, potentially.
I think
maybe
right now,
they got to do it.
I think right now the three-legged table isn't level, because you've got a solid men's main event, you've got a solid men's tag team main event, but the women's division needs a solid leg that it doesn't have right now. They're definitely getting beaten by NXT. The numbers show it. They need to pump. The only thing that's going to help is to pump money to get started.
Sheet is good, but that's where it kind of ends for me in terms of ring worker. Britt Baker's good character, not necessarily great in the ring, and she's hurt. But yeah, I mean, they do need some more cogs in that wheel, spokes, like CM Punk once said. Gotcha. All right. Well, great bash. With that said, because there might be another super chat or two before we finish, let's go around and do our plugs. So I'll start with you, Son.
All right, so I guess I don't see Aaron has the names up, but basically name spelled SONGOSHUAKU. You can find me on all my social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. If you're a Dragon Ball fan, check out my recent video podcast where we rank the 4 main Dragon Ball couples, as well as if you're also an anime fan, check out my live action short film I got coming out. Got the trailer for it, Battle Deception. So all that good stuff is on YouTube. Gentlemen, it's been a great time talking with you, because let's face it, during this pandemic, I told my friends I ain't going out to no park today. So glad to be able to spend it with you all and have this great time. Everyone out there, stay safe and keep supporting NoDQ.
And thank you. It's great to have you on. Stephen Osborne.
You can follow me on Twitter. Go to nodq.com/Stephan. That's STEFAN, or just at Stephan R. Osborne, OSBORNE. As always, the R stands for restricted. You can also find me on Aftermatch Wrestling on my YouTube channel. That's where we cover everything NXT. And we are now starting to have guests on our NXT show, What's NXT? We had the Cleaver Colin Andrew on this week. Next week, we're going to have new NXT member Nate Spain. So join us for that. Aftermatch Wrestling on YouTube, Aftermatch Wrestling on Facebook, Aftermatch Rest on Twitter, and Aftermatch_Wrestling on Instagram. And thanks.
You got to save a spot for me on one of those shows at some point. We need to shake things up. One episode, just one episode. That's all.
Yeah, we record Thursday mornings, or we go live Thursday mornings about 8:30 or 9. If you can join us, we'd love to have you.
Okay. Well, we'll be talking for sure. So thank you for being on. And Aaron Riff, back to you.
All right. Well, This Guy Experience sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. He says, which world title looks the best right now? AEW, WWE, or Impact Wrestling? That's a tough one for me. Virtue, what do you think? You're not really a belt guy, are you?
No. AEW world title.
I would probably agree on that. The WWE one is fine, but it's very generic looking, just with the WWE logo. Son, do you have a preference?
Yeah, I agree. The AEW title. I just like my title designs, or at least as a fan, I like to look at title designs that have a lot of nice, great detail in them. Not that there's anything wrong with the WWE title, but it is just the logo, right?
Yeah, to me, the best looking title in WWE, in my opinion, is the IC title because it's different from the other ones.
I got two. The NXT UK Championship. I guess I would include the women's title too, except that I prefer the black strap to the white. Or everybody forgets the NXT North American Championship. That is a slick looking belt, sir.
Yeah, that one's pretty.
That is like some 70s like porno championship belt, kind of like it. I mean, does it not scream 70s like old school? Like anyway,
I didn't know there were 1970s porno championships, and I'm gonna.
Man, get in the know, Aaron. Get in the know.
Adrian sent in a $5 super chat. Says, "Virtue, if I buy you a plane ticket, will you come to Ireland permanently?"
That sounds like one of the that Midsummer movie Ritual or some weird stuff like that. So I definitely would have to do my research. I'm very, very leery going to other countries. Always.
We can shed this easily. They're not going to let us fly over there for a while. We're not going to fly from the American EU.
Ireland seems cool, right? I guess so. Sure, maybe.
Maybe in 2022.
Yeah, and you got to be careful because with the current circumstances, you could end up flying out there and not have the chance to come back anyways due to COVID. You might have to end up like Tessa Blanchard where you just don't commit to going, and that's the end of it.
I can't believe she lives in Mexico, if that's true. That's whatever.
No, they won't let him fly out now. There's a ban on U.S. Anybody from the U.S. flying to the EU. That's everybody in the European Union.
So, all right.
You couldn't make it if you wanted to.
Make sure you guys stay tuned to NoDQ.com, of course, for the very latest news and rumors as we get closer to the horror show. And stay tuned to the channel. Lots of content coming up this week. We got part 2 of Fyter Fest and the Great American Bash. There are some spoilers from both shows over on NoDQ.com if you dare, unless you're one of those.
I'm sure we'll be talking about that next week on the review for sure.
Yep. So anyways, that's all I got. Thank you guys for watching and being part of 4th of July with us. It was a pleasure, guys, to have you on the panel here. Virtue, let's go ahead and wrap it up.
Follow me on Twitter, at NoDQ_Virtue. You will not regret it. But that's all I got. Thank you for the 4th of July NoDQ Review 102 Bash. It's been a blast. For Aaron Rift, for Son, and for Stefan, I am Virtue. God bless America.
Wait. Stefan.
Back.
I need to hear some music. I need some patriotic music to close us out here.
Close the show.
All right. I just want to say,
for the 5 people that are still here,
barbecue. I just want to say barbecue and fireworks. Fuck yeah, America.
All right, play it. Play ball.